Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to Ziggy Air. Today we are at the Alhama de Murcia, little airport here, little GA airport in Murcia, and we're going to fly to Almeria. And today we're just going to do the VOR A at Almeria. It's a circling only approach design when disco was cool. So we have the old-fashioned stack here. We only do radios, land-based radio, because really the Earth is flat, my friends. I've been watching a lot of videos, and I'm convinced now that the Earth is flat. There are no satellites, thus there are no GPSs. So we need to learn how to fly using VOR. So we're gonna do that VOR A at Almeria. And yeah, why don't we just go ahead and pick it up when we are into the approach. I'm gonna look for the MUR VOR, and we're gonna set that frequency here in our stack. That's gonna be at 114.85. Then we're gonna fly the 230 radio all the way into Almeria and pick up the VORA approach. All right, let's do that, and I'll see you over the air. All right, let's have some fun while we get to Almeria. I'm gonna call into this podcast. They're talking about the flat Earth, and they claim to be talking about science. So let's tune into that.
Okay, so if you've ever found yourself staring, really intently at that moving map on a long flight, maybe New York to Beijing or London to Singapore, you've probably been a bit baffled. The little plane icon, it's tracing this huge kind of dramatic curve, sometimes way up north, maybe over Greenland, or even like near the Arctic.
Yeah, it looks totally wrong, doesn't it? Especially when you're looking at a standard flat map of the world.
Exactly. Your brain is just yelling, why are we going so far out of the way?
Why aren't they just flying straight across? That's what seems logical on paper.
Oh, hey there, what's up?
Hey, hi. Could you tell me why pilots don't have to adjust their attitude when they're flying? If they're flying on a Earth that is a globe, there's curvature. Wouldn't you have to adjust your attitude on your plane to keep it at a level flight? I'm flying right now. I'm on a plane right now. I don't have to keep adjusting my attitude to compensate for the curvature of the Earth. Could you talk about that?
That is a fantastic question.
Absolutely. It gets right to the heart of what flight is.
And it links what we were just talking about, the curve on the map, to the actual physics of the plane.
So the quick answer is that the plane, or the autopilot, is absolutely correcting for the Earth's curve.
But they don't do it in the dramatic way people often imagine.
Right, they were not thinking, time to push the nose down 0.1 degree.
They're simply maintaining a constant altitude.
And because the atmosphere is attached to the Earth and the Earth is curved, flying at a constant pressure altitude naturally follows that curvature.
Okay, let's unpack this a little. When a pilot sets an altitude, say 35,000...
All right, let's just continue our flight here, and what we're doing is we're gonna be doing the VORA in Almeria. I'm just gonna show it to you over here. And what the plan is here is to pick up the 104 radio on the Almeria VOR. And once we pick that up, we're gonna turn into that radio 104. We're gonna fly out, and then once we hit, I believe is 10 miles from the VOR, or 10 miles out from the runway, we're gonna turn heading of 284. I mean the reciprocal heading. So we're gonna do a loop and turn that around and fly that radio, the 284 radio, into the runway. Now it's not gonna be a straight in. It's just gonna be an angle. So we have a minimum decision altitude there. I believe it's 12. No, it's 1,274 feet. And once we hit that altitude, we're just gonna turn into the runway, and you know, it's a clear day, so we're just gonna turn into the runway and land on that particular runway there. So we'll turn on the radios here, the nav radios to the 104 radio. And once we see that coming in, we're just gonna turn left and follow that radio out into the Mediterranean, and we're not going to fly over the water too much or too long, and then we're going to keep track of that DME, and once we hit 10 miles, we're going to turn into the 284 radio inbound. All right, that's a plan. All right, so we've turned into the 106 radio, and we'll continue on this course until we hit about 10 miles from the VOR, and then we'll go ahead and turn into the 284 radio inbound. All right, so once we complete the outbound, we're gonna loop around the turnaround after like 6 nautical miles, and we're gonna loop around and then intercept that 284 radio inbound into the airport. So the autopilot here is doing a great job. So we come in and we can see the airport now. We got airport in sight. We're just gonna lose some speed and some altitude here. And yeah, so once we are into the final approach fix, we are starting our landing procedure. And as you can see, everything's still pretty flat, and we are, you know, pretty much in line here with the runway, a little bit high. So yeah, let's get down. Speed is good, 80 knots, and yeah, let's get a line here a little bit. We have no wind, so there's no excuse here for anything missing off the center line. So let's see how it goes. All right, I think that we can call this a pretty nice landing. Perhaps just a little bit off, but nice and smooth. There we go. Yeah, and welcome to Almería, España. All right, my friends, this has been a pretty good flight. I think we covered a good deal of the flat earth. You know, is it flat? Is it curved? Do pilots, you know, change their attitude when they're flying? I don't know. I'm still not sure. That's why I'm going to continue to fly VORs, you know, ground-based radios. You know, you never know. You know, there might be some issue with satellites. We may lose it, solar flares, whatever. But anyway, there you are. That's how you fly a nice VOR circling into the runway. All right, my friends. Thank you for flying Ziggy Air. Remember, Ziggy Air will get you there. Ziggy Air is best in the air. My friends, I really don't make this stuff up. I'm only told what to say. All right, so stay tuned for our next video. That's going to be another circling and approach into a VOR in Cordoba, Spain. And we're going to use the just released Black Square Bonanza. It's one of the really fantastic aircraft. And yeah, stay tuned for that one. We'll see you then.